Now, 3 positions that you really should be spending your time on if you want to get good at handstands is the straight position, number 1. Number 2, you could argue, but I'd probably go for tuck, number 2. And number 3, the straddle handstand. So all 3 of those positions you should be getting comfortable with in your handstand practice. Both when you're beginning, in the middle, intermediate level, and definitely at the advanced level, you should have all 3 of those down. Today I'm going to cover the straddle handstand. So there's 3 types of straddle handstand. There's the half straddle, the small straddle, and the big straddle. So first of all, let's break those down and have a look at the different ones. Now, half straddle is a tiny straddle. It's the straddle that basically you can just open your legs just a tiny bit, maybe around shoulder width apart. Now there's no closing of the hip. This is closing the hip. In the small straddle and the half straddle, there's no closure of the hip. So all we're going to do is open the legs a little bit, come back again. One thing that can help you with that is a slight external rotation, sort of like a ballet turnout. And we still want our body to act as one segment, exactly like it does in a straight position. Actually, in any of the handstand positions, we really want the body to stay as one piece, one segment. Next, we have the small straddle. Now, this is going to differ for everybody, but this is the widest you can take your legs apart, but not close the hip. So I could do it in middle splits. How far down can I go this way? So how far can I go this way, take the legs apart, until I have to close the hip, until I have to bend forwards. So that's your small straddle. How far can you open your legs apart before they close? And then we have the big straddle. Now the big straddle is how far apart we can go before we start to round and go into like an eccentric press. So there is going to be some closure of the hip with this one, but there's not rounding, there's not a posterior tilt. If I keep coming and opening my legs wider and wider apart and still force it, eventually the hip's going to turn over and I'm going to go into posterior tilt. So it's as wide as I can get my legs before that happens. So that's half straddle, small straddle, and big straddle. Now, how do we train those positions? Let's first cover the wall drills, so the ones that anybody can do. We can train these both chest to wall and back to wall. A great place to start is back to wall, and we use the heel pull drill. So the heel pull drill is when we use the fingertips to pull our body away from the wall, and then we can open towards those straddle positions. Now, if you don't have a freestanding handstand yet, you could heel pull, hold for a couple of seconds, and then go back on and off the wall. If you're in the small straddle and the half straddle, that means your heels will touch. If you're in the big straddle, because you're closing the hip, it means your butt will touch. Now, we can either accumulate time or spend time in those straddle positions, or we could open and close from our straight position. And obviously we have the same freestanding. Now, when you're practicing these freestanding, I would definitely do it from a straight position home. So think you have home positions. So your home position straight, so that's what your straight position always looks like. You return back to your home position, and then from there we got your straddle. Then we open to our half straddle. So we could accumulate time here. So a good goal is to try and get 30 seconds and then be able to close back to that straight position. If you can't get it to start with, you might just accumulate 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, and slowly build up so you can hold it comfortably for 30 seconds and then return back to that home position. We can do the same in small straddle and big straddle. Now, when you're practicing these, I would definitely video from the back and from the side so you can see what's happening with the hip, and make sure that when you're going back to your straight position that you're fully opening and getting that straight position. Then we have straddle scissors. Now, straddle scissors is when we start in the straight position, we open to one of those straddle positions, and then we go back to the straight position again for repetitions. Now, I would hold long enough to show control in these positions. So you could go for 2 seconds in the straight, open to your straddle position, hold for 2 seconds, return to your straight, hold for 2 seconds, and repeat. And a good goal with this is to eventually build up to 10 repetitions. Now, if you're using the wall for the straddle scissors, you would just pull away from the wall, open once, go back to the wall, pull off again, 2 reps, back to the wall, come off, 3 reps. So you could either do multiple reps without touching the wall, or you could come on and off the wall for every repetition. Once 10 is comfortable, make it a little bit harder. Once you've got the straddle position down very strong in all 3 positions, you can start playing with things like flags, integrate the straddle into things like handstand push-up, 90-degree handstand push-ups, lower 2 straddle planche, and it will definitely help towards the stepping stones towards a press handstand, where you will round the back and go down, but you'll go back to that big straddle, small straddle, half straddle, and straight. You'll pass through those positions in the press handstand. So that's a quick look at the straddle handstand. I hope that's helped. Let me know down in the comments if you have any questions. Thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll speak to you next time. Thanks, guys.